They're coming speaking on Thursday. Is that what you're saying? Do you have some in your other classes?
No. Like, I'm in an organization called Pro, and they come in to speak to us and leads and something like that.
Okay. Huh. That's interesting. Hello. I just started class, but I saw it's emergency. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Oh, boy. I almost feel like that class I have never, ever heard in my life. Yeah, have you guys heard? Like, do you think it's new, like it started?
Yeah, I think because
I have one more email. You ready for this? Thank you for the email, new paragraph. We do not need your curriculum vitae, just the background check and a few letters of recommendation, new paragraph. Have a great day. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so we do have a. Are you guys in any of the classes that start for social work term B? This would go to online folks too. There's 4 totals: social welfare, 8 weeks. Cultural diversity is 8 weeks. It was the 4 classes that the gentleman who had taught for several years had a family emergency come up, so he was unable to. But they all start next week, so you guys don't have this. Or is anybody online? I feel like somebody. We've got Hassie, Sade, and a few others. So those all start next week because this is like our official halfway point. And then 8 weeks would be 4 in October, and I guess 4 in November. Maybe it's 9 weeks because don't you end December 10th? Okay. That's what I thought. So the good news is during homecoming, has anybody here ever been to homecoming? Like, did your parents bring you or have relatives that graduated from here? It's a big deal around here. So that's why I ask. Making sure. Okay, global social work paper is not due until October 13th. That's a good long time for you guys.
So what do that paper consist of?
We went over it on Thursday. You would look up the International Federation of Social Work and look up some jobs for it and like job postings, and also up the National Association of Social Work. So international would be jobs overseas. National is local here, and then write up their mission and policy, and then jobs that you see that are local, and then jobs that you see that are international. Salaries are interesting because we were saying salary stuff is always interesting to me. Did we ever get somebody who thought you know how much you'd make when you graduate with a BSW and get your LSW? You have the option to work 2 or 3 jobs if you wanted to make bank in social work. They don't have to be full-time. You could do 3 part-time jobs, or you can work 1 and still do okay and get insurance and get all that. But that's what's nice about social work is the flexibility that it offers. Is it like a TV there? I don't know if I've ever used that classroom. So, okay. I'm tempted to blast it out with a video of my own. Wasn't there something that we were going to show you guys? It doesn't have the energy that one has. So getting into like social justice, chapter 8 and chapter 9. similar to the heroin video we watched a few weeks ago, Cincinnati had their own tent city that went up. Let's see if it'll work. Is that like a noon show?
No time to shop. Let's Cardi. Farm fresh chicken, organic veggies, and that.
No, it's another commercial.
This young girl, if she exists.
Dave Yost, you disgust me. When a 10-year-old was raped and impregnated, Yost went on national TV and called it a hoax. I'm a grandmother and I have a 10-year-old granddaughter. When a woman was sexually assaulted, Dave Yost charged her with the crime and not her attacker. Dave Yost, you're despicable and not fit for office.
So we have our own tent city. Has any of you ever seen a tent city or like grown up around one?
A what?
They call it a tent city. And it's in relation to homelessness. So pretty much people that can't afford housing, a lot of times they'll get a tent that is temporary housing. And there's been a lot of research done on it.
They say you can know a person by their enemies. Well, here comes their dads. That's from the people who push bad trade deals with China. I vote against them every single time. Still got it.
Who's that guy?
Get ready to get everything
Is he even
you
a
want for your home
quarterback?
this season because
I
Wayfair's
don't
got 5
think-
days.
All right. So this is the homeless problem. Big cities usually. So this is in Portland.
It's not that I'm not trying to not be out here, because believe me, everybody, I don't want to be out here.
I know myself, I'm ready to go back indoors. It sucks.
You hear people throw out some rude remarks saying, get a job, you filthy bum.
It's just something so out of place, and it scares people.
There's got to be an answer to solve this problem rather than just keep pushing them from neighborhood to neighborhood.
They were taking tents, and they started pulling our tents up, and whether we wanted to or not, they
Yeah.
were taking them.
They wasn't giving us a chance to get nothing out.
The garbage is the worst, and it smells like feces over there.
We've witnessed daily drug use and drug dealing in broad daylight.
Housed or houseless, this camping is illegal.
I don't want this camp to stay here though, because now my children have been put at risk.
They steal stuff off of our porch, out of our yard. They go through our garbage cans.
It's not that I feel unsafe in my home. I feel unsafe now leaving my home.
The heroin, the house break-ins, the car break-ins. This is not a homeless problem. This is criminal behavior.
Why are we seeing so many tents on any given night? We've got 1,600 or more people sleeping outside. This is a very human and very real and complicated situation.
Given a choice tonight, would you rather sleep in a shelter or in a tent?
How long have you been in Portland?
My opinion, my outlook on things, I really believe that Portland can do it better.
Portland's always had homelessness, but this is different. The tents, they're visible. They're in your face.
Yeah, they are. It seems like they're everywhere, but there are all people living inside those tents. And during this process, we spent time with more than 100 of them. It's no way to live.
And people are compassionate, yes, but they're frustrated. The tents, the trash, it's changed the look of our town.
And it's pretty clear by this point that there's no easy solution. But before we even begin to talk about solutions, we wanted to kind of get to know who's living inside these tents and why.
This is the survey that we created. basic questions, just a few of them, asking about how long these people have been living in tents, why they're living in tents. And really, the goal is to go out and talk to these people who are living in tents, whether it be on the roadside, in a park, wherever we find them.
It's kind of embarrassing sometimes, you know. That is the first time I've really been this homeless.
So we're going around and we're surveying 100 people living in tents to try and find out more about who these people are.
Most of the people are pretty decent out here. You won't find very many that, you know, are heartless and mean. Most of them are really good people. They just have little struggles in their life. Everybody does.
You walk out your 10 feet, not even 10 feet, you can touch on the tent. Every 4 or 5 feet, you can touch on the tent. There's a lot more tents now than there were before.
Why do you think that is?
People need housing. I mean, that's simply housing, need help. Not able to do it by themselves. So not all able.
For all those people who drive by and see your tent, I mean, what would you want them to know about you? What should they know about you?
Human, just like them. Just fell down and just need help getting back up, I guess.
How long have you been living in a tent?
Since the 6th of August.
Recently, then.
Yeah.
So you've only been in a tent for a few weeks.
I honestly hate this so much. I wish I could be home. Like, I wish I could be in my bed, in my room, able to eat whenever I want. But now I have to walk like at least 5 to 6 blocks to eat something or go to the bathroom. It's really difficult.
How long have you been living in a tent?
About a year.
So it's getting worse.
During
too.
menopause, estrogen drop.
A lot of the tent cities you'll see in the major metropolises like Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, even bigger like tent cities in Las Vegas are bad. I think Los Angeles is the worst. Portland here, you can see how many people are homeless.
This ain't as easy as most people think. It ain't.
It's not camping.
No, it's not. Not even close. I love going camping, and this just ain't it. This ain't camping at all.
Why do you live in a tent versus other sheltered locations?
Because I don't like shelters. They're dirty, they're gross, they're just not sanitary. I mean, I like having my own space and living with my significant other. Shelters, you can't stay with your significant other. Tents it's like my own space, secluded. I can do my own thing. I don't have a given amount, a certain time where I have to be in somewhere.
A shelter, I can't go because of my dogs, and I'm not willing to give my animals up. My animals are like family to me. I'm not willing to give them up for somebody to be in a shelter. This
How
spot,
long have you
2
been-
days here.
You've only been in this spot.
Yeah.
Do you expect you can stay for a while?
No, we'll move on pretty soon. We'll go on down the trail.
And they'll force you out, or will you voluntarily move? Why are you going to move?
Because we moved before the park rangers come. We try to keep moving on.
It's the challenge for these folks. I mean, they don't know necessarily how long they can be in one spot for a certain amount of time before they have to pack up and head somewhere else. So, you talk about insecurity. I think this is part of it. Yeah, it almost seems like this game of cat and mouse where you set up.
It is.
Is it difficult?
It is. It's difficult.
So where are you going now?
So a lot of them, it's illegal to set up a tent city in Cincinnati now, and that law was passed through our city council like in the past few years. Some cities, it's easier to do that, especially knowing they have a homeless problem. And if there is a national forest nearby, a lot of people can live inside of that national forest without being bothered. But it's hard. You got to get your food. You got to get your water. And if it's cold, that's when it's the hardest. So we had a video next door, and we're kind of competing sound with them.
Not really sure.
Let's move to the next spot.
Something like that, yeah.
We get told to move like every week. So, I mean, even the ones that keep their places clean or whatever, it doesn't matter what you do.
We've been finding that a lot of these people, not all of them, but a lot of them, have drug or alcohol problems. Some of them have mental health issues.
Honestly, after being out here for a long time, I really believe that like 80% of the people are out here because they want to be. Because either it's their choice to live the way they're living, or because of drug abuse, that's what they're choosing. But not very many people are like really wanting to, like there are some, but a lot of people want to be where they're at, I think. They're not ready to make changes.
When did you come to Portland?
I've lived here my whole life, pretty much.
I've lived here my whole life.
Whole life.
When I was like 4.
Almost your whole life.
Grew up here.
Yeah. The thing I'm finding in talking to these people is they're not coming to town because of opportunity or because there are tents available. These are people who have lived here their entire life or for decades. I mean, they're not newcomers. Given a choice tonight, would you rather sleep here or in a shelter?
Probably here. Less people, less headaches. I don't do well with people, and yeah.
I'd rather sleep in a tent.
I'd much rather sleep in a tent, but I'd sure like to have drawers for my socks and things.
Probably tent.
Tent. Why is that?
Because too many people.
In shelters.
Yeah.
Too many people.
Yeah.
For you, are there other options besides a tent? I mean, are there other places you could stay?
I don't have any family here. I got my oldest boy. He lives up Colgate here, but he's got 5 kids of his own. He's got his own family, and I really don't. I don't let on to them to know how I'm not doing that good.
As far as the tent goes, it's my home.
I wish you the best.
Thank you.
That's the thing. You talk to these people living in tents, they all have a story.
Yeah, I mean, it happens every time I walk into a homeless camp. I always meet somebody who grabs me in some way, whether they sort of pull at my heartstrings or they piss me off, they make me happy, they make me frustrated. In this process, I met a woman named Willow who actually let me spend a few days with her. All right, so we're here. It is Wednesday morning. We're here kind of where the Springwater Corridor meets Foster. We're here to find Willow. When we first met Willow a couple of weeks ago, she was staying where 205 crosses Woodstock. And she'd been there for a while, but that was ODOT land. We've covered this a lot. ODOT crews came and told her and her friends to move along, so they have now moved to land just next to the Springwater Corridor, and they said, hey, if you want to come follow us, you have to come here. So we're coming here. We haven't seen their new spot yet. We're going to go find her, and the plan is to pretty much follow her throughout the day. So let's go do it.
Willow has told us where she'd be,
Anybody back here?
but it's not exact.
You can see here we're kind of getting into the parts of the corridor that are more brush covered.
And there's a chance she could have had to move again. It happens a lot.
Hey guys, I'm really sorry to bother you. We're with Channel 8. We're looking for Willow.
We find her and her camp. No one else wants to be on camera.
Yeah, is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my.
Okay.
We meet around a corner,
Hey Willow.
and right away, we're walking.
We cross over that way. Yo, Luna.
Willow's dog Luna has an eye infection. Taking her to the vet will be no quick trip.
It's crazy. I forget how industrial of an area this is.
Translation, she says, nothing out here is easy.
This last winter was really harsh.
On the way, we learn about Willow's life.
And I love my kids.
She talks of her 2 grown kids
They're the best thing I've ever done in my life.
and the husband she lost to leukemia. She was 29.
We have been together for 14, 15 years.
After that, her life and her business in California collapsed.
I just couldn't stay there because everything reminded me of it.
That is one reason Willow is homeless. The other, she's epileptic. Weekly seizures leave her tired and confused. She lives off of disability, roughly $700 a month.
I mean, it would take all of my check to pay rent.
Yeah.
And then I'd have nothing to live on at all.
10 a.m. You're at the Max stop.
I'll be right back.
Time.
If you're an Ohio homeowner,
So you see many different things cause the homelessness and cause challenges, and it could be as easy as something as simple as a layoff or the economy's bad, or a disability making it challenging to get a job, like she has epilepsy.
You got I think we should get together, try them out to see.
It's crazy to think about. All she's trying to do is get eye cream for her dog. Her dog's had this eye infection on and off for a year, and she blocked out 4 hours of her day for this one errand. For most of us, we take our dog to the vet, maybe an hour, hour and a half. You can do it on your lunch break. For her, this is her day, and it might not even work because it depends on if the clinic.
We're riding the Green Line north. This route is familiar.
Yeah, this bridge coming up is where we stayed. When I was first homeless.
Willow's been homeless in Portland for almost a decade.
How many would you say were staying under there?
About 5 to 9.
5 to 9.
Yeah.
Is there a point where it's so many people in one spot that it can get kind of crazy?
Oh, well, yeah, it is. Like it's the Springwater corridor. There were so many people. It was like never quiet. Helena.
We get off at 82nd Avenue and walk to the Portland Animal Welfare Team. That's a nonprofit that provides free vet care.
I told him that was because
most days you need an appointment. We don't have one.
And you go primarily by Willow.
Yeah.
Staff ask Willow for ID. That's a problem.
My backpack was just stolen not too long ago, and most of, fortunately, I kept my picture ID and my phone case, but all the rest of my ID and stuff was in there.
We hear that a lot. Many living outside don't have any IDs. They've been lost or stolen. Without those, getting a job, an apartment, or a replacement is next to impossible. Today, Willow is out of luck. Luna, her eye pink and swollen, won't be seen by a doctor.
Would you be able to come back for an appointment next Wednesday, the 23rd?
We head out.
So they said to come back every week.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Is that frustrating to you, or is that okay?
No, it's fun. It's great. At least she's going to be taken care of. I'll just keep cleaning it out because I have a wash, an eye wash.
Next, on to another nonprofit. It's called Join. Willow gets her mail there, and her disability check is due.
I stayed underneath the Max train.
As we walk, we hear stories of how cruel people can be to campers. One woman was ruthless.
She said, well, at least I worked. And that I didn't lay on my back like you did, unlike you, or something like that. Like she was referring that I was a prostitute or something.
How does that
that's,
hit you as a woman? I mean,
well, it's a little frustrating, people prejudge.
At Join, Willow goes in.
Yeah, I'll take some food.
Minutes later, back out.
Come on, baby, I know it's hot. Come on.
And we walk away empty-handed. That check is late. It happens.
One time it was like 6 days late.
that's a lot. I mean, if your rent is 6 days late, or if your other bills.
We get back on the train, still talking of money.
There are a couple people that do have jobs. Yeah.
But something is changing. Pauses are lingering. Epilepsy is taking over.
I'm having like a little bit of an absence seizure thing that I told you about before. I can't think straight.
An absence seizure, blank, cloudy periods that can hit out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go home and take a pill and lay down under a tree or something.
Willow's afraid a full-blown seizure is coming next.
You want to just kind of chill and.
So we agree to stop the interview. But remember, we still have to get back to camp. It's a long walk. We take it slow. Willow insists she'll be okay, but her day is done. That night, Willow had that full-blown seizure, the kind that leaves her exhausted and confused. The next day, crews ordered her group to move again. It doesn't matter that Willow is tired. Life on the streets goes on.
I hear versions of Willow's story time and time again from people living in tents. They're all complicated stories and they don't have a clear path forward.
Well, one common thread we've heard from people living in tents, they've been here for years. But now suddenly we're seeing all these tents.
Yeah.
So what's changed?
Homeless camps, crime, and trash in the Lentz neighborhood as people who live there asking the city for help. Neighbors have found their car windows smashed, their garbage ransacked.
Neighbors in Lentz have had it with a seemingly endless cycle. Homeless camps get booted just to settle down.
I've been a lot of places and I've never seen it like this ever. Portland is the worst.
They steal stuff off of our porch, out of our yard. They go through our garbage cans.
We've witnessed daily drug use and drug dealing in broad daylight, people exposing themselves, defecating, urinating.
I'm Sergeant Randy Tighe. I work with the East Precinct Neighborhood Response Team. From my perspective, it just slowly grew. And then it was like, I went down the trail one day and went, what just happened out here?
Why do you think tents, why has that created such conflict?
I think what it is, it's just a symbol of disorder. And I think that our communities are designed to support. And when you see it's just something so out of place and it scares people. I just think it's that simple. It's just not normal. And tents in a campground, normal. You know, tents along a bike path, not.
So at what point did we open the floodgates and we really begin setting up tents?
I think probably end of 2014, things started getting rapidly, depending on your perspective, getting worse or more people.
That's around the time that Portland was implementing rules required by a federal lawsuit known as Anderson versus the City of Portland. It would totally change the way the city deals with homeless, especially police. They had to post a notice at least 24 hours in advance of moving a camp. Camps couldn't be cleared at night. And police had to catalog and store any confiscated property. It protected the legal rights of campers, yes, but it slowed down the process of moving troublesome camps.
My name is Mark Jolin. I'm the director of the Joint Office of Homeless Services.
Do we allow people to live in tents?
So that is a harder question to answer because on the one hand, it's not lawful to set up structures in the right of way. On the other hand, if someone sets up a tent who is homeless, they have some protections in place under legal settlements that have been entered into over the years.
We've always had homelessness. We've had some tents, right? But now there's just a much greater number of tents. So what's changed?
They say you can know a person by their end.
So Oregon is probably the hardest to evict tent cities, and that's kind of what they're going over here, just like the legislation process, and they don't have enough shelters to keep it up. So with immigration, which we'll get into next week and the week after, it's even getting worse. We have maybe hundreds or even thousands crossing the border every day, and there's just not enough like winter housing for folks. You know what I mean? Like you can do the tents and whatever temporarily, especially summer and fall, but it gets really hard when you reach, say, Ohio, even Kentucky. It gets cold, it snows, it freezes, so people die from exposure to that. So, and you'll see here how much work they've done. I know that's enough of that conversation.
So there are a couple of things driving that. To some extent, you know, we have this concentration of folks who are struggling with disabilities and are sleeping outside and don't have options right now, and they're gravitating towards tents, and there are fewer kind of out of the way places anymore for folks to go if they're going to be in a tent. So that's mattered.
this is by far the single issue that we hear the most about. And virtually every one of the hundreds of calls we get every week starts like this. I'm a compassionate person, but.
Homelessness has always been an issue here, though. Why is it, what is it about the tents that brings out this level of conflict and this dynamic from the community?
You know, our city has been inconsistent and I would even argue ineffective in addressing the tent issue, focusing narrowly on that. For a number of years, we weren't even enforcing overnight camping codes.
To manage the problem as we move them more quickly into housing. That's the goal.
It was called the safe sleep policy, and allowed people to sleep in small groups, in tents, or on sidewalks during the evening hours. But the policy created a lot of confusion.
That gave Portland's homeless free reign to spend the night undisturbed in tents or sleeping bags on city sidewalks. But
Portland Group has had enough of Mayor Charlie Hale's
advocates, but they say the mayor's camping policy, which allows the homeless to sleep on the sidewalks and pitch their tents in public places, is actually doing more harm than good. And they say
that process sort of kicked off a real shift on the ground around people where they chose to locate with tents, and the level of confusion it created and the challenges around creating real accountability on the ground for the choices people were making led to sort of a proliferation of tents in places we hadn't historically seen them. They became much more concentrated in a lot of situations.
Did Mayor Hale's policy create confusion? I mean, was there misperception?
Yeah, it created a lot of confusion. I mean, officers did not know what they were allowed to do. This becomes a legal quagmire, basically. So it starts getting very complicated. And I just don't think that when he did that policy that he anticipated that problem.
I think they're not doing nothing about it. I think there's nothing, and there's no law saying we can't put a tent up, is there?
Charlie Hales wasn't around for an interview, but he sent an email and said, arguing about safe sleep is a sideshow at best. He pointed out that cities up and down the West Coast are dealing with the same issue, homelessness and tents.
Portland's homeless situation, while it is dire, I'm not making any excuses, it is dire. The reality is our homeless situation is not as severe as it is in Seattle, San Francisco, LA, or other cities up and down the West Coast. We don't believe camping in a tent is a humane alternative to living in a warm, dry place with access to water, access to showers, access to laundry, and access to social services that can actually help people get out of homelessness.
Do you foresee a day when there are no tents visible on the streets of Portland?
I think that has to be our goal in the sense that if we didn't have any tents on the streets of Portland, it would mean that we had figured out how to, scale our shelter and our housing programs to the level where everyone found themselves with no better option in the moment, had a better option.
Our goal was not to solve this problem, but to better understand it.
Remember, we wanted to figure out how we got here and who's living inside these tents.
Because clearly there's no easy solution here, but maybe this is a step in the right direction.
If nothing else, it might be a step in understanding the complexity of this problem. And again, just recognizing these are real people.
They become invisible to a lot of people that just do not want to look in that direction.
Spend a week in my shoes.
It's not as easy as most people think. And it's so lazy bastards. No, it's a little more to it than that.
And they look at us like a zoo animal.
Just because we're homeless, it doesn't mean we're all bad.
I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. And I wish people around us would care a little bit more.
Do any of you guys know where Portland is? Like the far north and west. So you're almost like top of the country, but Washington is the only state above it, and it is on the coast. So that's why a lot of people go there, just like San Francisco. They have a beach, they have like, perfect weather. It's beautiful. It does get cold is one problem, but so that is some of the jobs you could throw into your paper, like the NASW jobs, National Association of Social Workers, being the director of homelessness or being the homeless outreach. At Lighthouse, we did a large grant that was for homeless outreach. And those are some examples. I wanted to give you all a chance to jump on that paper and take advantage of our hybrid time and let you out now. Unless if you had any questions.